Before you listen to this episode of the Football Journeys podcast with yet another inspiring guest, we have a few favours to ask. The success of this podcast depends on its reach. If you enjoy the podcast, please do what you can to promote our hard work. Give us a 5-star rating, leave a nice review, tell your friends, or promote us on social media. You can find us on Instagram, Threads, and we're still on the other place too. Find us on @JourneysPod. You might even find us on TikTok these days. Even just a like on our clips, trailers and posts can boost engagement and bring more listeners. Please, please, please spread the word. And if you know any brands or organisations who share our values and who might be interested in partnering with us, then please do put them in touch. Or if you know someone who has had an inspiring football journey, get in touch to tell us more. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us at footballjourneys@b5consultancy.com.
Welcome to the Football Journeys podcast with me, Matt Hemsworth.
And me, Lee Nichol.
Brilliant, you managed to do that, Lee. Fantastic. Look, we're not in our usual UCFB recording studios because we had to grab the chance to talk to an incredible young woman, Samantha Sam Gough. While she was in London, she's down from Scotland, just outside Edinburgh, but she's been in London for the day, and we had to grab this opportunity to chat to her. Sam is deaf-blind. She has cerebral visual impairment, CVI, which is easier for me to say, which has rendered her, I think I'm right in saying, almost completely blind now. She, like me, needs to use hearing aids, but unlike me, she's also brilliant at football. And in 2022, despite being from Scotland, at the age of 18, she became the first person born in Scotland since, and how about this for some research, since John Bain in 1877, the first person born in Scotland to play for England. How about that?
Wow.
Not only does she play football, though, she also rows. She's played goalball, as many blind people do. She's a swimmer. But probably the most important thing for me, she's an incredible disability advocate. She's a TikToker and an influencer in the best possible sense of that word. So welcome to Football Journey, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's start at the beginning. And we obviously want to talk a lot about CVI and the challenges that's given you. I want to talk to you about football as well. I want to take you back to little Sam. Look, you are our youngest ever guest at 21, so I still think you're little at my age, which I won't give away here. But I want to take you much further back. I want to think about you as a little girl. I think I'm right in saying that you have 6 older brothers?
Yes, I do, yeah.
So football was a big thing in your household. You were born with this condition which impacted your sight and your ears.
Yeah.
But you weren't completely blind as a little girl. So talk to me a little bit about those early days and talk to me a little bit about when you first discovered your love for the game.
Yeah, so growing up I was, really happy, quite a bubbly little girl. Grew up with lots of, my brother's male in the house, do you know what I mean? So had lots of people around me supporting me, and I was really grateful to have so many role models in my house as well. So I had my brothers who played football. My other brother was trying to be a scientist. My dad was a dancer. So I grew up with just so many different people, which was really good. So it kind of showed me that I could be anything I wanted to be. And my dad being a dancer, I was really always encouraged to express myself in dance and to never let anything be a barrier for me. So I was always involved in anything I could be. So growing up in school, I was looked upon as an athlete, swam for the school, played cross country for the school. I actually played football for my school when I was younger. That's when I had a little bit more vision, so I was able to participate. I can't tell you if I did very much with the ball, but I was on the pitch. I couldn't do very much, but I was there, and that's I was taking part, which was what counted. And I always had a dream to become a footballer. I wanted to be active. I wanted to be a professional athlete. So I didn't really care how, what, where, or what sport I'd go down, as long as I got there. And to say that now I'm a full-time professional athlete is just incredible. And my younger self would be laughing because she wouldn't believe it. But here I am, getting to be on the world stage, which is incredible. But going back to my younger years, football was always something that was big in our house. We're Man United fans in our house. Don't know if you are. So Man United fans, and my dad played football, my brothers played football, and I always I was told that there was a tryouts day near my house for our local football team, and I was like, this is it. This is my journey. This is what I'm going to do. And after watching my dad play football every Saturday, I'd end up going to my granny's and having some stew and tatties. But I sounded probably very Scottish there, tatties. But yeah, that's what we did on a Saturday when my dad played football. And I knew that this was my chance to play football for a local team. And when I went to go and try out, I was told, you're too blind. You can't take part. So after 2 weeks of being in the garden of just training, which isn't that long if you think about it, 2 weeks is not long, but it was a dream and I really wanted to pursue it. And I was outside every day after football, really listening to like my brothers and techniques, and he really just showed me how to do it. And I was so excited. And when I was told I couldn't do it, I was heartbroken. So I gave up on the dream. I then went to want to be an actor. I kind of chose a different route, but still played sport in school. And I'm so glad I'm back on that journey.
When we talk about football then, and you talk about being too blind, just to give a bit of perspective, because I said in the opening you are now, well, you're completely sightless now.
Yeah.
But back then you were partially blind, but very partially blind. You had difficulty seeing. You could see shapes around you. You could see enough to play, I guess, forgive me for calling it this, you could play able-bodied football.
Yeah.
So this is not the blind football that some people may or may not understand, where the ball is very heavy, it has bells and it makes noises. You have to shout voy before you tackle people, all the things that happen in blind football.
Yeah.
So this was you, as someone who had a disability, there's no doubt about it, you had a disability then, but you were effectively trying to play alongside little boys and girls who didn't have the same issue as you.
No, yeah, absolutely. And there's not a partially sighted women's team, so and that's kind of why the women's blind football team now is got partially sighted people in it as well for the women's team, because we just don't have enough B1s or essentially blind people to play just blind football. So if there was a B1s team, a blind football team back then, I would be playing that. But at the time, women's blind football only just started a couple of years ago, so there wasn't the opportunity for people with visual impairment to go and play football. So it was only left to go into playing mainstream, which obviously I was shut down with the minute I wanted to do it. So yeah, wasn't given the opportunity to take it any further, which was sad.
How I am mind blown that after being told no, what made you want to go into the garden and try again, knowing that there was no teams around that you could be part of?
Yeah, I think, I gave up on the dream completely. Like, I knew that there was no avenue I could ever go down again. And it's when I went to Hereford, the Royal National College for the Blind, for a Have a Go day that they were offering. And they kind of said, right, on the day you're going to try this sport, and this sport. And I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And I was scouted from there to play goalball for Great Britain, and that's kind of where that started. And then
forgive me, Sam, goalball. I've got a bit of an instinct of it, but I'm conscious there'll be some people listening that have no idea that that's just two words that put together as far as I can. So what is goalball? Yeah,
so goalball is a tactile game for the blind. So we all wear blackout eye shades. We have a big blue ball that is quite heavy in respect. It's quite heavy, and we have to sit on the floor, and our body, we kind of like slide out to go and save the ball, and use our whole body to save it. And it's 3 against 3. So the aim is to score a goal, but we have to protect the goal by our whole body being kind of that defence barrier.
You're lying on the ground.
Yeah, we're lying on the ground. So this ball is coming at us like very, very fast, and we're having to be like, yeah, come on, hit me, let's go. I want that ball, let's go. So yeah, it's a hard game, and it's a heavy ball, and when you've got the guys that are chucking it at you, you're like, ow, that hurt. So we've got to wear like protective gear of like knee pads, elbow pads, and the women have to wear chest plate because the ball can hit you and it's really sore. It's that's kind of a little bit about goalball.
Have you got a helmet or anything on?
No. We have eye shades that have a little like beak that cover our nose to protect our nose, but it doesn't protect our nose. Like it hurts. It really hurts.
What about your teeth?
Yeah,
gum shield.
Some people wear them, some people don't. I guess like you can wear them. When I had braces when I was playing when I was younger, it used to hurt so much because if it hit your teeth, it's not great. So yeah, it was a very physical game, and depending on who you're playing against, it can be a very physical game. It's kind of like dodgeball, is how I like to describe it for blind, but you're on the floor, and instead of not trying to hit the ball, you want the ball. So yeah, on that Hereford camp, got to try goalball, and played some partially sighted football. And then a couple of years later, got to try it again at another Have a Go day, and was too blind to see the partially sighted ball, which was a yellow colour at the time.
And I'm going to slow you down again because
Yes.
I'm just aware there'll be some people that just don't know
Yeah.
exactly what that means.
Yeah.
And I get this, and I'm sure you follow Josh Pugh on his what an
comedian.
amazing comic he is. But he plays partially sighted football. Anyone who's listened to our podcast before would have heard David Clark, who plays blind football. What's the difference between those two sports?
They can see a little bit more than what the blind team can.
So they don't wear blackouts.
No.
They're not treated as blind. They're treated as people who have partial sightedness.
Yeah, I don't know much about the game. All I know is they can see a lot more and they're able to see the ball. And I think the ball is a little bit heavier than a normal standard football. I'm not quite sure on like the size. I really should know this, but I don't. I'm really sorry.
Well, forget it. You don't play that
yeah,
anymore.
no,
So
exactly.
You don't have to worry about
I shouldn't. Yeah, but it's still good things to know. But at the time, the ball was yellow, and that was the colour that I could see on a blue contrast floor. So I was able to see that ball way back in the day. But when we realised I couldn't see that ball, everybody else was playing a game, and me and a coach called Adam was like, okay, so you can't obviously play the game that everybody else is playing, which is partially sighted football. Why don't I take you aside and you try blind football? So me and another lad got taken aside and we chucked on the eye shades, and I was like, oh, well, I've done this a little bit with with goalball, so like it's fine. Chuck on the shades. Whoa, was I wrong? This is different. This is a different game. It's not like goalball. The ball is at your feet and you've got to try and control it. And if I could find some videos of when I first started, it was like I was nutmegging my cell the whole time. I couldn't find the ball. It's really hard, but now I can obviously control the ball, which is nice. So I take quite a lot of pride in that because it's hard. So yeah, I was scouted from there for blind football and was told that there's a team going to be starting, and lockdown had hit, so everything was on hold. And just when we got out of lockdown, they started the first ever women's blind football team.
So I'm going to try and get my dates right on this. So we're talking 2020, which is 4 years ago. So you're 17 at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I was lucky enough to share a taxi with you and your mum coming over to the studio here, so I've got a little bit of background here. But my understanding is, so your sight was very poor from an early age, which obviously you've just described caused you problems. You were partially sighted, but it was always deteriorating. The CVI was causing your hearing issues, but more than that, your sight issues. Yeah. When did the time come? I mean, and was it that time when you realised that you were too blind to play partially sighted football that you, I don't know, defined yourself as blind or were blind?
Yeah, well, I think the word blind and the term blind is such a spectrum, and really anybody has the right to use it. I really started only using it when I lost my colours, which was about 2.5 to 3 years ago. Roughly. Dates are quite hard to remember. All I know is that was a traumatic time, and I do believe that because it was a traumatic time of losing my colours, I start to want to forget about that time, and dates just, they go out the window. But yeah, to me personally, I started calling myself blind when I lost my colours, because I thought that you can't see, that is what blindness must look like. And actually it's so wrong. Like, blindness is such a spectrum, and I could have been using the term blind when, really from the get-go if I wanted to. And so it's a personal choice. You can be visually impaired, you could be severely sight impaired, you could just be sight loss. You can be anything. And I really chose to be using the word blind on my channel, on my social media. Probably when I started to lose the big chunk for me was when I lost my colours, was really hard. I'm going
to keep referring back to David, and because I've spent so much time with him, I know he's someone that you know as well, and he's a huge inspiration to me. He was born blind, but he knows lots of people like you that lost sight. And there was a word that he's used before that some of his friends who lost sight use, which is that feeling of grief, that grieving that thing that you've lost. You have effectively, you are virtually totally unsighted now. When we came up the stairs, your mum needs to help you. You've got your cane, which is obviously a great help, but knowing where to go. Until we get a guide dog, and we might have time to talk about guide dogs, you can't get to the places you need to get to. Yeah. Did you experience that grief when you lost your sight?
Yeah, big time. And I kind of went through probably just through lockdown, when I started to lose a big chunk of my vision and just started to lose a lot of my sight. I'd struggled a lot with my mental health, and it's something I'm openly speaking about on my social media. I'm a survivor of mental health, and you know, I'm a really big advocate for not just sight loss, but you know, visual impairments and sight loss and mental health, because it played such a massive part in my life. And, you know, yeah, I grieved my sight quite a lot, and I think that has a role to play in why I'll say that again. Mental health played a big role in grieving because of my sight. And yeah, I did struggle with it, and I'm very open about it because, you know, there's not a lot of people talking about it, and I feel like as athletes, if you have a platform, or you're not an athlete and you have a platform, talk about it, because there's so many people that can connect, and you can be a role model to so many people. So yeah, no, I did definitely grieve my sight. And as I said to you earlier, actually, like everything that I do where I'm faced with, I need help, I remember, oh yeah, I'm blind. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, and it's just, you just get on with it. I've got quite a positive personality, so I come across as really happy and quite bubbly, but there's times I'm like, God, Sam, why can't you just have sight to do this yourself? Like, why can't you just drive somewhere? Obviously I can't, because I can't see, so we're not driving. But yeah,
driverless cars, it's not allowed. Yeah.
Unless you can get me on a go-kart, I'm totally up for that. Like, I've done it before and it's wicked. I just kept bumping on the lines, but give me a big massive space with a go-kart, I'll have so much fun. But yeah, no, going back to it, yeah, no, definitely grieved my sight. And it's a big thing for somebody to overcome sight loss. So
what would you say helped you come into terms with that, with poor mental health? What was the key things that you learned about yourself, or what helped? Often people always ask me, like, what helped, and the answer changes every single time, but like, what would your answer be today?
Today would be, you know, sport. Sport saved my life massively, and if I hadn't found that at the time that I did, or found, you know, the adapted sport that I could play, because I was playing sport before I lost my sight, or the majority of it, so I've always been an athlete and took part in different sports, but when I found adapted sport that I could play and feel accepted, and found people in a community that just accepted me for who I was, that for me was what saved my life initially. So yeah, I honestly found something that I didn't feel judged. I just had somewhere to go and, you know, relieve whatever I was feeling, and could forget about everything else when I put the eye shades on, which just, yeah, was a great feeling. And yeah, sport is just incredible. I love sport. But I think also as well, like for me, my social media has played a massive role in not just being an advocate, but for coping for the things that I struggle with. So I turn it into videos. I put it on my social media, because if I can, you know, document it and get it out there, it's off my chest, but then it can help other people that are out there as well, who are maybe struggling with the same thing and don't actually know that there's people out there struggling with the same thing, if that makes any sense. But yeah, social media for me has played a big role in advocating for visual impairments.
Well, I'm going to go on to social media in a minute, but I just want to pick up on what you said about sport. It's something that when you are, I don't want to use the term able-bodied, because, you know, there'll be some people that don't class themselves as disabled but have sport taken away from injuries and illnesses and whatever else. And I think of a friend of mine who's having an operation tomorrow, who has had sport taken away from him at the moment. I play on a Sunday night, and I'm still creaking a little bit because I played last night, and it feels like a right to me to be able to play football on a Sunday night, and that was a right that very often is taken away from people when they have challenges, whether it be blindness, the loss of use of limbs, or whatever else. And that element is really, really important, which is why something like disability sport gives you that sense of being and that sense of purpose. And I think I'm going to ask you a bit more about European Championships, World Games and all that in a moment, and also the fight to get women's blind football in the next Paralympics, which I know is a fight that may or may not be successful. Yeah. But you mentioned social media. Let's talk about social media. There's a million things I could talk to you about on your social media. I have a love-hate relationship with TikTok.
So do I.
And I imagine you do as well, yeah. It's I'm a father of teenage kids. I'm also someone that does lots of work with young footballers, male and female, and we talk a lot about the mental health impact of overuse of social media, that feeling of validation. Yeah. And I imagine you experience a lot of that, because I'm going to start off by talking about some negative aspects of social media, but then let's talk about some positives. it's kind of a bit of part of your job, really. Your TikTok seems to me your big platform. I much prefer Instagram because I'm just too old for TikTok. You've got over 46,000 followers now on TikTok and growing, but probably the more important statistic is 2.7 million likes. So that means that your videos are banged. I don't know whether I use the right technology. There we go.
Yeah.
But that sense of validation and that sense of... Lee's got a head in the hands there. That sense of having to create content, that sometimes worries me about someone like you. Do you sometimes feel pressure to create content?
I will say that there has been moments where I've been like, oh, I've stuck to a routine. It's every 2 days. I must get a video out. But then I'm like, actually, I'm going to fall out of love with it if I force it. So my content's not forced, which is why you see funny dance videos of me, because it's just like, that's what I want to put out there. But the more structured videos, I kind of aim for more on my Instagram, but they get posted on my TikTok, because I think TikTok's more of a fun kind of, app. We see lots of trends and banter and all that kind of stuff. But I do find that I'm trying not to put the pressure on myself. I don't get paid for any of the stuff that I do on my social media, so it's all voluntary. So I have to remember that I have a life outside of social media, which is being a full-time athlete. And a lot of people are like, well, how do you balance that? Well, I just, I spend a lot of hours in a train, a car. I may as well edit, which is good. But I see the benefit of doing the social media. Like I get so many people reaching out saying, your content has helped me so much. It gets me through the day, and it's like, well, that is so worth doing it, even if I have to be like, oh, I've got to get video out today. I think something that I don't talk about a lot on my social media, which maybe one day I will, and today's the day, I guess. I used to do social media from a really, really young age. So I did YouTube, and I vlogged every single day. I think I did like 365 days of my life. And it's actually through growing up and using a cane, and it was just my funny channel. Like we did challenges of how many marshmallows can we stuff in our mouth. Like it was the weirdest challenges back then. But that was my platform, and I only got like 205 subscribers, which was fine. But I stopped it because bullying within high school and primary school was awful, and I had to stop because back then, I used to be the kid that wanted to play with her dolls and post that on social media, and I got so badly trolled by my classmates from school, and I had to stop and delete all my videos. I can still see them, I still have that account, but nobody else can. So when people, like when I started my channel on TikTok, people were like, oh, this is so out the blue, but you're quite good at it. I was like, well, I did do it for so many years and actually found a passion, but I had to step away from it, as I said, because of the trolls and the bullies. But now I'm back into that kind of environment of my life's out there on social media. How am I going to cope with this? Because I don't want to stop. Yeah. Like I love it, but how am I going to control the emotions and the thoughts and feelings I have around it? So I know there's options of like putting your comments on like no comments or whatever, but actually other people have a voice as well, and they might have questions. So let's use that to my advantage and make videos out of the questions that people asked. But I love social media, and to an extent, I mean, some of the comments are horrendous, but we get on with it and we just have to ignore it. But I see a benefit to it. So now I do it because it's helping the community of blind people and advocating for visual impairments, rather than it's me doing it and I'm getting trolled. It's actually, we're talking about something serious here, which is a topic, rather than it just being my life. I don't know if that makes sense. But
it does make sense. There's a higher purpose to what you do. It's a sacrifice worth making.
Yeah.
And I think what you kind of allude to, but you've got such a sort of happy demeanour, you don't want to be unhappy in where you're describing it, but there will be moments where it makes you feel unhappy, I'm sure. And I hesitate here, but I have got your permission because we chatted in the taxi about this, but I want to focus a little bit on some of that negativity and how you deal with it. And forgive me, I'm going to read a couple of things that I've said, because you made this lovely video, which I've seen on Instagram, about the responses you got. There was a particular video where you uploaded, I don't know, it was a TikTok trend, but you were dancing, and you're dancing very well. Yeah. And we're actually recording this at a time when Chris McCausland is on Strictly Come Dancing. And I'm sad to say my family and I are not watching this series, but I love Chris McCausland, and I love what message he sends into the world. And what he's doing is he's showing how blind people cope with being blind. So what he's doing effectively, he's dancing as well, but he's showing how it is possible with four senses to be in the right place and be able to follow steps and all of that. So effectively you were doing that on TikTok. Now, the comments on TikTok, there's always that old saying about, if you're reading the Daily Mail, which you shouldn't do anyway, but never scroll to the bottom and read the comments. The same applies to TikTok as far as I'm concerned, because TikTok has got, let's say, a broad church of people. It's got a lot of young people on there as well, and they've got a lot of people that haven't got a filter. And I don't think a lot of the people that post comments on TikTok think about the human being. So it doesn't matter whether you're blind or whatever, they see you and they just see a face on a screen, not a human being. Not someone that's had years of coping with coming to terms with your condition and dealing with all of that. So there's no filter, and they'll say what they'll like. You did this brilliant video on Instagram where you addressed some of the comments on it. And I took the time to go through and look at some of the comments as well. And one thing I found quite amazing is that the comments weren't just in English. They were Spanish, Italian, French, Arabic. I don't know how they thought you'd read those, although translation
was good.
But there were a few. And there was one particular comment I saw, and there were lots of comments like this, of people saying, well, why are you bothering to comment? She won't see them. Now, the level of ignorance in that comment is extraordinary. And as I said, I've spent time with David. I've listened to the little fast computerized voice that he uses to listen to comments, etc., etc. So you do hear the comments or read the comments and however you define it. There must be moments, though, when you read stuff like that you must become very frustrated with the ignorance of people, of not understanding how blind people are able to live very active lives.
I get so annoyed at it. The comment section is horrendous on that video, and I think is it the one with 2.2 million views? Yeah, that video that blew up, and it was just a video of me walking in with my cane and doing a dance routine, and people were just like, what? How can a blind person dance? How can she do things? Because people just think, oh, I'm sitting in a corner and that's it. I need help with everything. But as I said, my dad was a dancer growing up, so I was always encouraged to do dancing. I did dance classes. I learned how to have a rhythm. And when you get a good description of how to do a dance, you can follow it. And I could teach us. Let's go now. We'll get a dance going. But I'll do this after.
I'll get more abuse. I can't move.
Some of the comments on that video are actually horrendous, as I said. And there was a point in the comment section, because believe me, I read every single comment and done the translation on every comment, because I wanted to know what people were saying.
Most people do.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said, you were looking at them as well. And yeah, some of them really hurt. And when it starts commenting about my looks and about my blindness, I'm like, what is going on? So then it can start to affect, now, am I looking okay when I'm in a video? Am I dressed appropriately? People are just going to start picking me apart. And that's the hardest part as well, because a little bit of mental health in there can come in of, God, they're being quite horrible people here. And I've just got to try and rise above it. And you're right, the comments that they put, I've just got to respond back to them of another video of saying, how did a blind girl actually do this? And that's how I kind of respond back to it. Otherwise, I just have to leave the comments and not looking at them. But that video, when it blew up, I had to actually reach out to another content creator, another blind content creator, because I needed advice on what to do. Because it just reminded me back of the days where I got bullied on YouTube and my classmates. And, it is a really hard situation. And I just had to reach out for help a little bit, because I didn't expect it to blow up. And I mean, it was only within my first year of doing content. I didn't expect it to blow up the way it did. And I just wasn't prepared for it. And I think there's still comments coming in today of that dance video.
It's the beauty, or the not beauty, of the For You page, because it will still keep popping up on people's feeds and they respond to it. Yeah. Did it really help you to talk to someone else that had been through something like this, to say, yeah, that's normal, that happens?
Yeah, no, I actually reached out to Blind Tobes, which is another content creator. He didn't do dance videos, but he has a lot of comments on his visual impairment and, how do blind people do things. And when I reached out to him, he was really good, and he was like, phone me anytime, literally phone me anytime. I'm a content creator, you're a content creator, we get it, we're in that, we live that world, which was really, really reassuring. But actually, it's how do I cope with that? And he can tell me and give me advice as much as he wants and I want. But actually, how am I going to cope with it? So now I have to ignore the comments. If there's a good one, I get either a couple of people tagging me in it and say, Sam, you need to comment back to this one. But yeah, I just have got to cope with it. And I think my mum's been a massive help in it too, because she was commenting back to them haha, nah, this. And I'm like, Mum, stop. They all know you're my mum. I had my dad coming on some, and I'm like, Dad, please just stop. Like, don't comment back to them, just ignore it. But they're just, protective and don't want people to hurt me. And some of them did hurt, because when it's a lot of people, millions of people attacking me about, God, she's faking it because she can dance. God, she moves too well. Something's wrong. She's not blind. And it's just
that was the thing that really hit me. People accusing you of not actually being blind. So to have had to deal with blindness your entire life, and then have someone suggest that you were faking it is, I must cut very deep.
It does. It really does. And I think it takes me back to, I was excluded from sport growing up in school because of my visual impairment. So I had bullying from classmates. My teachers excluded me because I was blind. So I had to find sport out with, as I said. So I went to these taster days. But it takes me back to just trolls from the get-go. And actually, they didn't believe me either. They didn't understand that, okay, I didn't need to use my cane in that setting, but I do at this setting. She must be faking it. And nobody gets it. And that's the thing. Like, when I went into this sport environment for blind people, they get it. They just get it, and I don't have to explain myself to anybody. But I have started a job on social media where I'm going to get comments, I'm going to get people being ignorant, but I didn't expect that amount of people to be like, God, she's faking it. So which is why I have to now make a statement of making videos explaining why I can't see and why my eyes make eye contact, and just being vulnerable again for other people to understand it. But I don't even know if it helps. Like, it helps people understand it, but the trolls are never going to get it. They're still going to come for me.
Well, because so many of the people that will comment will spend such a fleeting time on your page that they won't even see the responses. They're not really interested in being educated. But there are many people that are interested in being educated, and that is the benefit which massively outweighs the disadvantage that you have on your mental health, because it's been just as blindness has been, it's your superpower and your super weakness as well. So one thing we discussed when we were talking before is that blindness has taken a lot from you. Of course it has, but it's also given you so much, which then brings us back to football, I think, or sport. I mean, one of the points about anyone that seriously might question whether you're faking it, I think the guys at the IBSA or the Football Association or whoever else know, because I mean you have to actually have your blindness tested, don't you?
Yeah, at the highest level. So I've been through, because I've done so many different sports now. I've done swimming classification, goalball classification, rowing classification, and did I say goalball? Have I lost a sport? You say four sports anyway of classification, and then there's classification that you go before that to make sure you're eligible to get classified, and then you go to so you get one, like in the UK you have British Blind Sport classification, you've got classification for international sport. If you go to the Paralympics, you'll get reclassified. You get classified every 4 years. And unless they think, okay, you're life classified. So just now I'm 4 years, which means I'm getting regularly checked to make sure that my sight's still the same. Do you really think I could fake being blind at the highest of levels? And I mean being interrogated in a room, like awful. And that's what people don't understand, that, okay, you can't just say you're blind, you've got to go through all these different classifications and eye appointments. And I mean, I've got all the evidence, and that's like another thing, like through classification, they hadn't heard of the condition CVI. So to them, they were like, prove it. And I was like, okay, I'll go and get the information, get all the information and whatever. I had to go for more tests where they had to put like metal wires in my eye to get the connecting pathways to show. And that was so traumatic. Like, nobody knows this kind of stuff, but it's so traumatic for me just to prove that I can't see. And it's awful, but people have to go through that. And I think if your eyes look normal, and I hate using that word because people say you don't look blind, but what does blindness look like? But my eyes track things and follow things. People are, again, like, if your eyes move, you must be able to see. Where my damage is the connecting pathways from the eyes to the brain that don't work. So my eyes are looking at things, but I can't see, and they just don't get it. And
is that, as Lee and I are talking to you, obviously this is a podcast, so people can't see the fact that you're able to look at us when you're talking to us. So is that because your eyes are instinctively following where you're hearing the sounds from, etc.?
Yeah, well, my eyes are really healthy, so they work just like anybody else's eyes. So they will look at you, make eye contact. It's the visual pathways from my eyes to my brain that don't work. So my eyes are really healthy, which means that they work just like yours. And they're tracking things, they're following things. But I don't know that they're looking at you or making eye contact. All I know is that you're in that direction and I'm heading, my face is in your direction, and it could just be looking straight into your eyes and I wouldn't know. Yeah. But that's the thing, like my eyes are just looking at things that I just don't know that they're looking at. But yeah, that's a little bit about obviously why they're tracking things and following things. But my eyes are really healthy, except the fact I have to wear glasses because of a condition called astigmatism, which means that I need a prescription to keep my eyes a certain shape, and it's also to do with like the light that comes in and all that kind of stuff, and just to keep my eyes a certain shape basically. And if I don't wear my glasses, like I've got a video soon coming out about why do I have to wear glasses, and you know, I explain in depth. I took them to an appointment. I showed the behind the scenes of getting my eyes tested for why I have to wear glasses. And I had to make a point at the end of the video that not wearing glasses is not an option. I have to wear them because my eyes get really sore. They start to squint. I get migraines. Like there's a list of things of why I still have to wear them even though I can't see. And again, when you look at one video of me dancing on TikTok and see me wearing glasses, they're like, nah, something's not right here. And yeah, it's why that there's videos that I've got to post to try and show people a little bit more about my condition.
Amazing. Well, I mean, it's so helpful for people to know and understand that. I'm going to go back to football as well again. So I mentioned at the beginning you're the maybe second. In fact, it is literally the second. This guy in 1877 is the only ever person to have been born in Scotland and play football for England. There are a number of others who were effectively Scottish but play for England. Crikey, I did do my research. There was a guy in 1959 who was born in Liverpool but grew up in Scotland and played for England. I'm getting boring here, but why do you play for England?
So I play for England because Scotland doesn't have a blind football team. They don't have a men's team, so they're not obligated to make a women's team, which is shocking. But I have the opportunity to play for England. And it's like Wales don't have a blind football team, so there's people from Wales that play for England. So our England team is actually made up of people from all over the country, not just English, which is quite cool. But what is really cool is I'm obviously the captain as well, which when I tell people I play for England, I'm Scottish, but I'm also the captain for England. And they're like, what? What's happening there? And I'm like, well, yeah, it is what it is. And I love playing for England, I really do. I just love putting on the shirt. And every time I put it on, it's like I feel amazing. I really do. And especially when I was a little girl that was told they couldn't take part in sport because of her disability. And now I get to compete at the world stage and play football for England, which is, every little girl's dream.
How does it go down in your town that you represent England?
I've had quite a few comments on it, to be honest. And I think it was probably harder for Mum and Dad to get used to the fact that I was playing for England. And my dad was like, oh, this is cool, but can you wear a Scotland shirt underneath? I'm like, no, I can't. I really can't. But I mean, I embrace it so much. The minute you walk into my house, there's an England shirt right there. And I just take pride in it. Like, my postman's like, get that down. And I'm like, what can I say? I love playing for England.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I can quite, as an Englishman, I can quite understand why a lot of your compatriots feel the way that they do. But I can also understand why, because it's your achievement, why you feel as strongly as you do. And you feel looked after by the English FA because they have given you this outlet, this incredible opportunity to play international sport. So your first cap was the IBSA European Championships, which, right, this you'll tell me whether I've got my research right or not on this one. This was a double header against Germany, is that right? In Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, what an incredible trip. I know ultimately, I think you lost both games, but you know, we're used to that, playing against Germany, but what an experience that must have been.
Yeah, it was incredible. And there's a picture actually of me in the changing rooms with our coach at the time. They'd said, Sam, what's that? And I was like, what is it? And she was like, no, next to your shorts there's like this thing. And I was like patting over, I was like, what is it? Picked up this band and I was like, what is this? I didn't know what a captain's armband looked like, and they were like, you're captain. And there's like a picture of me with like my hands on my face, like, and I was crying up so much, and everybody else got emotional in the room, and it was a moment that I will take with me for the rest of my life, of the day that I was made captain, because I was just like, what, why me, like, I'm just little old Sam, like, why do I get it? And honestly a day to remember. And Germany were hard that day, and I mean we've improved so much since Germany, and it's actually really exciting for when we next play them to show them what we've got, because we've just improved so much since that game. I mean, we played them last year at the World Games, but the IBSA World Games was IBSA, the European Championships was the first ever game for women's blind football, which was a history-making event. So yeah, it's the best feeling ever.
And this is 2 years ago. So you're a 19-year-old kid from Scotland captaining England against Germany. I mean, that's mind-blowing. That, and I think one of the other things that's mind-blowing is because all of the girls on the team are based all over the country. Mm-hmm. How do you train?
Yeah, so we train every 2 weeks at St George's Park, the national home ground for.
So you go from Edinburgh to St George's every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, my mum drives.
Wow.
I should say, it's probably clear if you listen to this podcast, Louise is in the room, so I keep flicking a look to her every now and then.
My mum's in the room, and we drive every 2 weeks, there and back. My mum, we have to stay the night before, just because, the night before camp, because it's too long to drive back to back. Like, we just need a little bit more time. And the FA have just been incredible with supporting me as an athlete from Scotland. Like, they've accepted me as if I'm just a player, like it doesn't matter where I'm from, which has been great on their part and my part. But I do have to travel every 2 weeks, which is a massive commitment. But what we have done is my dad built a blind football pitch in my garden. So there's a sign that he's just got, and it's SGP, which is St George's Park, but it's Sam Gough's Park, which is pretty cool. And that's going to get put up, and I think we should get like a ribbon and like cut the ribbon.
Has he got it in Braille as well?
He's got it in Braille, which is great. But I go out there and I train, and I've also got Josh Walker, which is England's Josh Walker, who is England's ex-captain as well. He played for England, and he now lives in Scotland, and I train with him twice a week, so 1-to-1.
So does he come to your little
little pitch at home? So yeah, he comes and trains me there, which is
because
is
it's
great.
an amazing video you put on social media of it. I think your dad putting it together. It's an incredible facility, and you've actually got another video where you basically show you can play blind football anywhere.
Yeah.
I think one of the important things for a really good blind football area is for it to be enclosed, because it's like anyone that plays five-a-side inside. It's, the ball needs to bounce off the walls, etc., because otherwise it's be going off too much. But that facility your dad has built, I don't want to be too complimentary, but it's pretty impressive.
It is pretty good.
The best in Scotland, I would imagine.
Yeah, the only one in Scotland. What are you on about? Blind football pitch. It's got the boards as well, so I am kind of trapped in that area. It is small, don't get me wrong, but it make do with what I can do. And it, my performance hasn't dropped, which is the main thing, so it obviously is helping. And it just means I can independently get out of bed and say, I'm going out to the football pitch right now, without having to say, Mum, can you drive me here? Mum, can you take me there? So yeah, having that blind football pitch is awesome. Yeah. And my nephews and my nieces love it as well. Like, they're out there playing football, and yeah, it's great.
Well, so you don't have to be blind to play blind football, as long as you've got the face mask. So do your friends, cousins, nieces, nephews come and play with you, like with wearing the blackout masks?
Yeah, well, not all the time, but there was a day, I think it was somebody's party, one of my brothers actually, we had like a house party or whatever, and we were out in the garden. I was like, here, everybody try blind football, and I filmed them all putting on the shades with the blind football, and they were like dribbling with their hands out, and they were like, I can't find the ball, where is it, tapping the floor, and it's just everybody gets involved and we can all try it. I'm yet to do like a Gough 5v5 football game for blind football in my garden or whatever. We should try that. That'd be cool.
That'd be amazing.
Get on my brothers. Yeah, get everybody
trying
it.
Do you know what? I'm just thinking about how difficult football that I play is, let alone me not being able to see. Like, to me, I think it's incredible, and I think you must be really, really good and super talented, and you've worked so hard. And honestly, like, for me, when it rains and I've got mascara on and sometimes I can't see in a football pitch, it's I'm trying to take myself to how how good you must be to be able to.
How brave as well. It's that, cause it's really tactile blind football.
Yeah.
But there's that was one of the things that Clarkey said to us on the podcast. I think one of the main injuries he had was broken wrists.
Yeah.
So that you've got to be fearless. And it was something I was talking to your mum about in the taxi about dancing actually. Talked about in the front room there was a glass coffee table and you were kind of fearlessly, maybe you're not quite as fearless as you used to be. I think you said you'd be a bit nervous nowadays, but when you were a little kid and your eyesight was still very, very poor, but you wanted to dance with Dad. And the chance of slipping onto that and crashing everywhere, as a parent I could quite sympathise with your mum's view on that. You've got to be fearless in blind football.
Yeah, we've got to be. So we have obviously the eye shades, which has a little beak, as I said, to support your nose, but we also wear halos, which is basically like a sponge band that we wear, and that's to help with collisions because there is many collisions. And we've just been measured for our own face masks, so they're plastic masks that we'll wear underneath our eye shades, which is solid, but it stops you breaking your nose if you hit somebody, breaking an eye socket, all that kind of stuff. It's all for protection for your face, because if you don't say voy and they don't say voy, crash. Yeah. I don't know you're there. I'm like, mate, watch where you're going. You can't just say that, can you? Ref, he didn't say voy. She didn't say voy.
I love the politeness of that. So, and I remember asking David, I don't think he knows exactly where it comes from. I think it's Spanish, but it's voy is just so that the person knows you're about to try and challenge them, so that therefore it's to avoid collisions. But the kind of politeness of it, when I was playing football on Sunday night, the idea that I would go up and try and tackle someone, excuse me, I'm about to try and tackle.
Do you know what? It's funny actually. When we were at the World Games, the World Grand Prix, the World Games last year, Morocco are quite violent, right? So they tackle, and I mean they went for me. The minute they knew I was on the pitch, I was getting tackled left, right and centre. I mean I had 3 of them on me at one time, and I bumped into one of the girls and reached out to give my hand to go and help her up, realising she can't see me and I can't see her. I was like, do you want a hand up? Sorry, I didn't mean to bump into you there, but you didn't say void, to be fair, so
your Arabic's not perfect, and she couldn't understand your Scottish accent. Oh dear.
Ref was like, just step back. I'm like, but I'm trying to help her up. Take my hand.
And this, so I did look into these World Games. So this was a really important tournament from what I can work out. It was in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So you had Japan, Morocco, and Sweden, and it was a tough tournament, wasn't it?
It was.
I won't say anything more on that, but it was a great opportunity for you. Argentina won it, and it was one thing that really annoyed me that Clarkey said. He said the Brazilians are amazing at blind football. So it turns out also the Argentinians are as well. Yeah. So, but there was an interview in The Guardian actually with the captain of the Argentina team, and she was talking about Paralympics. So let's talk about Paralympics.
Yes, yeah.
The men were at the Paralympics in Paris, and the women weren't there. I mean, I know the answer to this because I've done my research, but can you tell us why and what the challenge is now?
Yeah, so we're trying to get status for women's blind football in the Paralympics, and it's been a battle since we started women's blind football, which was a couple of years ago. And just now, they don't think that women's blind football is up to par with men's blind football. So we have to prove that we're pretty much good enough for the standard of playing at the Paralympics, which was what's really annoying is we were supposed to go, England and France were supposed to play a demonstration game in Paris underneath the Eiffel Tower, and that was pulled because they didn't want to basically embarrass, the crowd about what blind football for women can look like. And yeah, we've got a lot of competitions coming up which we've got to show. Like there's a competition that has to be played before March. If it's not played, we don't get to know if we get status.
And how do you show that? I mean, just being
play the
objectively
game.
Good.
Because
it's not about winning games, because they say, well, the opposition was poor as well.
Yeah, so we've got women's blind football has got to be at a standard for the committee to take us to LA. So we will know by June if we are getting Paralympic status or not, which is mad because men's is in it, women should be in it too. And I think it's because women's blind football is so new. They don't know if the game is different to men's. I don't know if they're scared to put that out there. But women's blind football is just as exciting as it is for the men. It is a good game to watch. And if you watch our games from previous games that we've done, it's thrilling, it's exciting, and it is really sad that we've got to be at a standard. But I guess we have to be at a standard. But women's blind football should be equal and par with the men's.
Yeah. It's frustrating. There's two things I'd say in response to that. Is, no, I know it's a different association, Olympics and Paralympics, but did anyone see the breakdancing? And then we'll move on from that. But then there's also reflections from the, I don't know whether you call it the able-bodied or sighted game. There are massive differences between women's and men's football, and I say that with a brilliant female footballer next to me. They're very different. Men are much bigger, stronger, quicker, but it doesn't mean that women's football doesn't have value. In fact, it has incredible value. And I watch a lot of women's football because of Lee, because I've been introduced to the game, and I enjoy women's football as much as I enjoy men's football. And of course, it's totally different. It must be frustrating for you to hear that.
Yeah.
We've made progress, haven't we?
Well,
clearly not.
Well, we're making progress, but when we hear stories like that, I'm still thinking about the fact that the Scottish FA don't have a team. Like, I've got so many questions about that, and the Welsh national team as well, because I expect better. I just don't understand why it keeps getting compared to the male game. There are so many similarities in terms of the rules and the sport we play, but it's so different. And men's football isn't for everyone, and women's football isn't for everyone. But combined with both, we tick a lot of boxes in terms of what young people like to experience. And what if we've got a young Sam that's 6 years old and wants to be like you?
Yeah.
And I think there's a saying, and the Lionesses said it when they won the Euros, if you can see it, you can be it. And I always remember that. Obviously a little bit different. If you can experience it, then you can be it. And if you know it's a possibility to go to the Paralympics or represent Scotland or Wales or England or Great Britain. And I think we need to stop relying on a handful of people making decisions on whether they think it's good enough or not, because they're in a position where they're very fortunate. They don't understand what it's like to always be told no in their life, whether you're a female in sport or you've got some form of disability. And it's forever us that's been told no, because other people that can't understand are making these decisions. And I hope in the Olympics in 4 years' time that we will be seeing not just this sport, many other sports that are also being told no. It's something that's very close to my heart, and I don't think there's any reason why you shouldn't be at the Olympics unless, touch wood, you get an injury. Paralympics, sorry.
No, absolutely. Everybody should have the opportunity. Yeah.
Lee, you talked about Sam, that phrase, if you can see it, you can be it, and then you kind of hesitated. I think you were worried that you'd upset Sam.
No.
And it's something we did talk to Clarkie about as well, and let's talk to you about it, Sam. He talks about watching things, looking at things, etc. He's quite comfortable with that language. He also said not everyone will be comfortable with that language, and some people will be quite sensitive of it. So I wanted to ask you about how you feel about language. I asked you actually whether you watch television. I was more interested because you're a 21-year-old rather than because you're blind. Because most 21-year-olds don't sit and watch TV. They'll watch Netflix, YouTube or whatever else. And then I wanted to ask you about watching things. So you went to the Paralympics in Paris and you went and you watched it. So how do you feel about language, but then also how do you watch things?
Yeah, so for me, language, I don't really mind it. Like, watch what you're doing. Mum says it all the time. Watch what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, but I can't see it. I'll make a joke like that, but I don't take it personally. So that's kind of, I'm not too fussed on it. But I definitely know that there is people out there that would be like, but you just reminded me that I can't see again, and then get really upset about that. So I totally get where some people are like that, and that just maybe is where they are at in their journey. Maybe they haven't come to terms with the fact that they've lost their vision or are losing their vision, which is totally respectable, because there's no time limit of when you need to be accepted or need to feel better about it. Because there is people that are still struggling, probably like 20 years on, and that's okay. That's just the journey that they're on. And then as for watching things, so audio descriptions is the way to go. And even if you can see, I definitely recommend trying it. It brings a different experience to the TV that you're listening to or watching or whatnot. So yeah, I was out in Paris, as I said. We were watching the Paralympic Games. See, I said watching. See, I'm okay about it, which is fine. Audio description was the way to go, and it was hard to get hold of.
At the Paralympics, it was hard to get hold of.
Yeah, well, it's on your app on the phone, but it can only be on the person who's booked it, which was my mum. So I couldn't get access to the audio description, but my mum could. And even on my mum's phone, it wouldn't work. So they hadn't really thought out the audio description of how it worked, even though they said they'd been working on it for about 4 or 5 years. I was sitting watching the blind football. Luckily, I knew what was going on because I play blind football. I kind of got the gist of it, but not knowing who had the ball, what was really going on. And they also offered these vision boards, which was really, really cool. It was a tactile board with like a magnetic little ball that would move in sync with the original ball on the pitch. Really, really cool device, but you have to pre-book it. So there were maybe about 60 other kids with visual impairments that were at the event that couldn't get hold of it because, one, they didn't know that it was an option to have this board, or two, that they had to pre-book it. And I didn't pre-book it. And I'd said, if there's one available, could I please get hold of it? Not one just for me to use it, but for social media to show this incredible device that you offer. And then I eventually, halfway through the first game, was able to get it. But the thing was, we were a party of 3 other blind people. So it was, okay, I have the first 10 minutes, you have the next 10 minutes. So by that point, we were like, what's going on with the game? So yeah, they had all these things to offer, which brings a different experience to the game than just listening to audio descriptions. If you go to theatre shows, you can get tactile walkthroughs of the show. So before the show starts, you can go and feel all the props that they'll be using. There's just different ways. And accessibility is so good, but there's not enough out there for people to know that they can use these type of things. So the awareness is not there, which is why I do what I do on my social media, to bring awareness to all these cool things.
Well, what you're describing there is there's been loads of progress and there needs to be more, which is what it's the same for women's sport. You know, there's been progress, there needs to be more. And you talked about tactile. Keep referring back to the fact that you're a young woman, but it is important. That's the point of your social media. This is how a young woman experiences being blind in modern world. So one of the things I asked you about was fashion. You're an influencer and you're a disability advocate, but you are an influencer. So you said it's not your job. I would hope that I will meet you again in the future and you'll say, actually, I've been making a bit of money out of social media. There's no reason why you shouldn't do in terms of fashion or whatever else. So being tactile, that must come into you with fashion, because you talked about colours and you've lost colours, and actually there was quite a nice thing before we started recording. We have the option of different coloured lights that we can use in the studio, and Lee asked you what you wanted to choose, and you've still got your Scottish roots in there because you chose blue. But you can't see that blue, so you can't. You know you're wearing black today. I'm sure you know that. But you wouldn't have known that perhaps unless your mum had told you what colour they were. But the tactile element of it's really important for you, isn't it? And fashion's important. Yeah,
no, absolutely. I really, more recently, I've found a passion for fashion. That's a Bratz quote, by the way, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh my God, that just takes me back to my days. That is so good. Anyway, sorry. Fashion, love it. Nobody will tell me what to wear because I need to know what this feels like. Is this something I'm going to feel comfortable in? I love textures, so I love like sequences on dresses, and I think with the life that I live with sport, I get to go to all these really cool events with awards and all that kind of stuff, which has brought out this other side to me that I can be quite feminine and wear nice pretty dresses, which I always thought if you're an athlete you stick to your shorts and sports bras and a vest and that's it, where actually I've got to find another part of myself through not just being blind in the tactile element, but finding myself outside of sport, which has been different and I'm not used to it, but I like it at the same time. I'm like, I can express myself not just on the football pitch or on the course for rowing, but actually through fashion and wearing clothes that I feel comfortable in, and then on my videos putting a little bit of a description so that other blind people know what I'm wearing in that video, because nobody will know what I'm wearing, and I can put that description of a little bit detail of actually the leggings I'm wearing today, I've got a logo that I've got a tactile shark on the back. Like nobody needs to know that, but actually somebody that's blind does, which is really cool. So yeah, finding a little bit of passion in fashion. So yeah, I mean, I'd hopefully like to be back here one day and say that I'm getting sent these all like cool outfits from, let's say, White Fox or Nike and all that kind of stuff. But I would like to bring to my social media an honest review of does the texture feel nice? I'm not just being sent this by a brand and saying, oh yeah, I got this nice outfit, I love it, but going into detail of this is really good quality, do I think that you could wear this? Yeah, no, yes, no, yeah, that kind of thing. So on TikTok just now, there's like a viral video going about these new pyjamas that are out in a shop, and I'm like, I'm going to find those pyjamas, don't know how, I don't know where they are in the shop, but I will find those pyjamas and give you an honest review if they feel nice or not, because pyjamas have got to be comfy, and I'll give you an honest opinion on it. So weird, but yeah.
Feel is much more important to you, I guess. And would there be certain types of fashion that are more tactile, that would be more attractive to you as a blind person?
Oh, good question. I think there would be. I think like dresses with like glitter on it, I would probably love to go more towards them. But then I like really tight fitting dresses that are like a little bit more tighter than normal, because I just feel the, you know, on my skin of being, oh, I'm being compressed here. It's quite nice. That sounds so weird. That sounds
No, I do get.
But do you get it? I don't know. You might get it.
Feminine and glamorous.
I do.
Yeah. And then if the dress has got like a little bit more texture with like, I don't know, patterns, I might be able to feel that, and that to me just like brings a whole different element of confidence in me. So yeah, just now I'm experiencing a little bit of makeup and like, how does a blind girl do makeup? So I did it today. I don't know if you're able to see it.
No, I actually had a question how you have been able to put eyeliner on.
Yeah, it was hard.
I am blown away.
Yeah, so I do videos on my social media like talking about how I do it, and it's literally just feel. Like I can feel that this wet stuff is going across my eye in a pencil.
I've leant forward to look at your makeup. You've done an amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Like
I don't even see.
Try and do that.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I cannot. I can do it, but it's never. It never matches.
Yeah.
And then I wipe it off and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, because this morning I had to get Mum to just touch up a little bit, because I was like, I didn't think that was a straight line, so I took it off. Can you put that little bit extra bit on the end? So a little bit help of like Mum helping me, but I like to be able to learn how to do it myself. So it's something I've been playing about with over the years of learning how to do it independently. Because I mean, if I go to all these fancy events and I'm having to pay £50 for somebody to do my makeup, I'm like, I've got to sit there for like 3 hours and get it done. Just do it in 10 minutes and that's it.
It's amazing.
Just chuck it on. Have confidence in yourself. You can do it.
See, I get bored really quickly, and I just don't feel like, again, for me, I've only became in touch with my feminine side in more recent years, but makeup for me, it's something that I've never felt like I'm good enough at, because all my other friends are a lot girlier than me. So if I put eyeliner on, it's not going to suit me. But every time I try, I just can't do it. Like one eye's perfect, and the other eye's like, I can't do this, so this needs to come off. So
is that it's something obviously I'm aware of with you and Celia, who's a rugby player, who's one of our colleagues, just so Sam knows. It's quite important and a difficult challenge in women's sport, isn't it, being feminine? Because you are supposedly in a masculine environment, sport, which it shouldn't be. Sport is for all genders, it's not just for men. But there is a feeling of kind of, sometimes for a lot of the girls want to reclaim their femininity. I've said it wrong again, but I won't say it. Is that a real challenge in sport?
I don't know about you, Sam, but growing up, it was always the shorts, the sports bra and a T-shirt for me. So then to start wearing dresses and putting makeup on, put my hair down, I think the real problem was how I felt about myself. I didn't feel like me. I was like, I've got my hair down, this is not me. I've not got my hair up, I've got mascara on, people are going to judge me, look at me differently. And I think that takes time to get used to, and it's change, isn't it? And when you change your style or you do something different, everyone always comments, but it's all about how you feel about yourself. And as long as you're brave enough to make that change, and after the first time of doing it, it's usually okay. But I think for anyone that's plays sport, in particular females, going from the complete opposite to on a football pitch to then at an event and looking glamorous, it's more about how we feel. I just don't feel myself sometimes when I'm dressed up. I'm like, it's completely two different personalities. Like, I've got a problem.
Yeah. I'm like that, especially when I have to wear heels. I'm like, this is, just give me my trainers back. Like, I want my Astros back.
You didn't think about wearing heels. So, you need a cane to get around, and you're going to put a pair of bloody heels on.
Again, I can't wear heels. Like, it's remarkable.
No, to be honest, I watched, I was obviously watching the Olympics and the Paralympics, but there's a girl in the Olympics who is all over social media, and I followed her because she popped up on my For You page, and she's like embracing the fact that, talking about obviously being on the world stage, but using that to her advantage of I can be an athlete, but also can wear a dress. I can be an athlete and also wear makeup while I'm being an athlete at the same time. And I was like, whoa. So that just inspired me to be like, actually, I don't have to just be wearing what they think an athlete should be wearing, which is your shorts and your leggings, and just stick to that, where actually I found a whole different side to myself, which I'm playing about with a little bit because I'm like not used to it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to dip my toes into that, but I'll give it a try. But then actually I found I've actually feel really confident in myself now that I've ventured out a little bit.
And
Because
this
I found
is the
who I am.
American rugby player, isn't it?
It is,
talking
yes,
about, whose
yeah.
name I'm really... And there'll be some people listening just screaming.
Yeah.
And it's this person.
Yeah.
I can see, I think her initials are IM. It's something like that. She's really, really interesting. And I spoke to Celia about her. I think Celia must have played against her. And rugby is the kind of that pinnacle of masculine, supposed masculinity. But we mentioned Chris McCausland. She's currently on, I think, or has been on Dancing with the Stars in America as well, which again enables her to embrace, with a very strong physique, but to nevertheless embrace femininity.
Yeah.
Not a word I should be saying, because
okay.
I can't say it, but there we
Yeah.
go. Embracing that feminine aspect of her.
I think for me, I've had to find I'm not just an athlete. Who am I outside of sport? And it's something I've been really struggling with quite a lot recently, because I just don't know, like just now I've got a little bit of a niggle in my back, so I'm out of sport for just now. But who am I outside of sport? And here I am with weeks of not been training full body and whatnot, adapted training, but who am I outside of sport? So I've been expressing myself a little bit with fashion, or looking at different clothes in the shops and going shopping, and that's not like me at all, but I found this whole other side that I didn't even know I had, and I'm now finding myself, which is weird, but I quite like this journey again that I'm on. But it's just different, and each to their own, because I mean there's athletes out there like, I will never put a dress on and that's that, and I'm like, yeah, cool, that's awesome. But for some girls, they just don't know that there is the option to, if you're an athlete, because you must think that you're an athlete, that's all you do. But there's other sides to you than just being an athlete.
So there's that element of identity that a lot of sports people struggle with. You had to retire, back injury as well, from playing football, so you kind of lose...
A lot of similarities.
and you lose your identity because you've always been the football girl from Motherwell.
Yeah, it was actually early on this morning. I was on the phone to my friend Celia that works for B5 as well, and we were talking about identity, and Celia was saying, I don't know who I am without rugby, if I'm not starting, if I'm not playing, and it's things that I went through about a year and a half ago. Who am I? I've always played football.
Yeah.
You've always played sport, so
Yeah.
you take that away, and I think the best bit of advice is ask your family members who you really are, and then what do you like? Who do you want to be?
Yeah.
And it's really good that you're experimenting those things at the minute, because every sports person is more than just their sport, and that's where mental health then declines again, that when you've got a bit of a back injury and you can't do the one thing you love, what then is your mental health like? And the fact that you're going out there and you're experimenting different things in fashion that you like, you're out doing all these talks as well, the more you do of that, the more stable our mental healths are, and the more consistent it is, instead of sitting just thinking about that back injury and just replaying the fact that you can't play sport. And there's more that needs to be done for that. Again, that's where the similarities of all sports people go through.
Yeah, rehab's a long journey. Like, trying to get back playing has been like the hardest 11 weeks of my life of just coping with a back injury. But I found myself again through obviously fashion and getting to know who I am. But I'm really like focusing on my social media and getting some good content out there and videos around advocacy and visual impairments. And yeah, I've just got to put my focus somewhere else while I can't do the thing that I love. But yeah, just make the most of what I've got and just deal with it.
Focus. There's more sight language. I've just really liked it now. Now we've raised it. One of the things I think is the key to good mental health around who you are is being unapologetically you. Easier said than done. And there's something I really love in your social media. Lots of your videos start, "Hi, I'm Sam. I'm blind." And it feels really deliberate. And it may well be that it's not deliberate, it's just a way that it's happened, but it feels to me like owning it, claiming ownership of it. It's it's almost like the second line is, and if you've got a problem with that, then that's your problem.
Yeah.
And you're not aggressive, you're lovely and brilliant, so it's not like that. But does that feel important to you to put that out front? I
always think that I use it because people don't think that I'm blind. So I'm like, his first statement is, I am blind, just to let you know.
And I guess if you popped up on someone's timeline on TikTok, they'll be, well, this girl's wearing glasses, so she's
take
not
a double
blind.
take.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Yeah, so no, I think there's a little bit of accepting who I was and who I am, of I am blind. And now I'm, with the content I'm making, I'm trying to steer away from using I am blind all the time, because there's more to me than just being blind.
Yeah, you don't want to be defined by it.
Yeah, so I don't have to be defined by the fact that I'm blind, but people need to know that I am blind. So it's like a little bit of, I'll say it when I want to, and basically how I am feeling in the moment of filming. Oh, sorry, that's the microphone. I also think, it's a little bit annoying if you go on my channel, it's, hi, I'm Sam, I'm blind, hi, I'm Sam, I'm blind, hi, I'm Sam, I'm blind. I'm like, Sam, stop. I can't.
It's nice to have a catchphrase.
Yeah, is that my catchphrase? Hi, I'm Sam, I'm blind. Yeah, but I think it was getting annoying for me a little bit on my social media, because when I went on holiday and I documented my trip away with just not being in sport mode, it was just me being me. And every video was like, hi, I'm Sam, I'm blind. I'm like, Sam, you got to stop saying it.
If there's any consolation, Sam, I raised it because I loved it.
Okay.
It just felt really
thank
unapologetically you. It was almost like kind of making the viewer feel at ease straight away. It's just, welcome to my world. This is what I'm going to talk to you about. This is what I'm passionate about, advocacy on. And I really liked it. And you mentioned accessibility. I was going to talk about Italy, because I know you had some really good experiences in Italy. I was, maybe I'm being unfair on our Italian cousins. I love that country. I was really surprised how much better than us they seem to be on accessibility. But what I wanted to talk to you about was accessibility on social media. So I've mentioned this to you when I've spoken to you. I feel a bit embarrassed. We met Clarky, who's an old man like me. And at the time he was using Twitter because it wasn't a hellhole that it's now become. And he used LinkedIn. And as soon as I met Clarky and we became friends, I started adding on alternative text on any image that we posted on Twitter and any image that we posted on LinkedIn, because I had one blind follower, which was David Clark, and he needed to see what I was saying on social media. But what I didn't do, both on my personal and our business social media, was Instagram. And there was a reason for that, which I did talk to David about. David said, I don't use Instagram. It's very focused. It's very visual. And he's an old man like me, so he doesn't use Instagram. Now, I do use Instagram because I'm trying to stay relevant with the kids, but I haven't added alt text on that. I hadn't added video, audio descriptions on our Instagram, on my Instagram. And since meeting you, I've realised that I am wrong. And certainly our Journeys Pod Instagram, please do follow us. We'll have to do this, otherwise it'll be incredibly embarrassing. But talk to us about why it's important and how you, as a blind person, using it, because I was very surprised to see that you're not just the creator, you use it. You follow people on Instagram and you enjoy using it.
Yeah, well, I think, such social media is such a massive way to connect with people. As you said, different people you meet, you add them and you follow them. And I think, if you've got people out there who have a disability, so you've got what? Subtitles? Yep. You've got audio description and video description. So there's 3 different things there to make your social media more accessible. And I talk about it a lot on social media, about how to add it, how to use it, because it's not hard. It's just, it takes maybe 30 more seconds of your time to make it more accessible. And I put it on my social media because I have obviously a community out there of blind people. So when they come to my channel, they know it's a safe space. All the accessible requirements are there. There's subtitles because I've got a community of deaf followers as well. Not just outside of sport, within sport, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, subtitles is on there, and I just feel like if everybody can use the accessible features to make your account more accessible, then we can try and make this world more accessible for everybody. And I just feel like, why can't we just everybody do it and it be the norm, rather than being, what is that? We'll just ignore that. Nah, it doesn't matter. But because you never know who's going to be on your page, like going on your page and you would never know that somebody's blind and going to have a look at it. So I use on all of my social media, I put a picture description, not normally in the box of the description. I'll put it actually in the settings so that anybody with voiceover can actually just touch the picture and it'll instantly tell them what the description I put on it. But in the comments, or in the description, I'll put a video description if it's a video, just telling them what I'm wearing in the video. What if there is a key information? So let's say I'm going to, where could I go? I'm going to Disneyland. Okay, I went to Disneyland and I posted a video of me walking down the street, and then in the description I put, in the background there's a Disney castle that is pink and has, I think it was blue square kind of detailing at the top, all that kind of stuff in the bottom, so that people knew what was actually going on in the video, because you forget that all this visual thing, somebody that can't see it is missing out on so much. So if you could put a little description in the bottom to tell people with visual impairment what's going on, it can help them so much to make that picture in their head of, okay, Sam's just saying she's walking down Disneyland street or whatnot, but what's in the background? I have no idea. Where somebody like yourself would be able to see it and say, wow, oh, that looks really cool. They're missing out on all that kind of stuff.
And effectively, when you think about Instagram, if we were to have an image here of the three of us talking and we post on Instagram, we would obviously put a caption and might say something like, you know, great to have Sam Gough on, and we'd tag you on it. But the picture itself, a blind person like you will click on the picture, and I think Clarky said it said something like image.
Yeah.
So you've lost. And I think what... If people who don't have challenges, whether it be blindness, having to use a wheelchair, all these other challenges that other people have, it's our job just to make some small allowances, which are massive for people who have challenges like blindness or whatever else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dogs. I want to talk about dogs.
Guide dogs.
I want to talk about. I do want to talk about guide dogs. I don't want to talk about normal dogs because we've got a little yappy one at home that I'm always moaning about. I prefer to talk about dogs with jobs. And you're incredible, capable young woman. You've got incredible support from your mum who helps you get about and gets you to St George's Park. She'll be with you these next couple of days here in London when you're at an award ceremony and everything else. And I should segue. You were not there for an award for yourself.
No.
You were there for an award for your mum.
My mum, yeah.
Actually, I'm going to do a total segue because I know it'll embarrass Louise. Incredible what she's there for. Please talk to us about that and what an incredible woman your mum is.
So my mum, she's over there. She's going to get emotional. She's going to start crying.
Good. We like tears on this podcast.
Yeah. So my mum was honestly dedicated her life to supporting me and my visual impairment, and has played a massive role in my sporting journey. So I wouldn't be able to be where I am at the level without my mum. Like, she took me to every event that I needed to go to, and honestly, just hats off to her. But not only did she to help me in my journey and do all the things that I've done, she's been a foster carer for, did she say 25 years?
That's what she said in the taxi.
25 years? Yeah, I'm just using my memory now. 25 years. So I've obviously got 4 blood-related brothers and 2 foster brothers. They're basically my adopted brothers now, but my mum has been a foster carer, and so has my dad for 25 years. And
they're 2 grown-ups, those boys.
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
So they're effectively
my brothers. Yeah. And she's fostered how many kids? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was 60 something. You're going to have to shout it, Louise. 63.
Yeah.
So there's 63 young lives over a 25-year period that have been infinitely better as a result of your care and love for them, which I just think is incredible. So she was there for that award, not because of what she's done for you, which is incredible, but what she's done for 63 other young boys and girls, which is amazing. I've always thought adopting and fostering is one of the most remarkable things that people can do. So to do it 63 times is just incredible. Yeah. Let's get back to guide dogs. Louise, that's amazing. And
also for working, helping start a local charity called Bright Sparks, which is a charity for children with disabilities. So she helped start that up. So yeah, she's done amazing things.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Right, now let's get back to guide dogs, because otherwise Louise will get too embarrassed on this. It's something I spoke to David about. In fact, we had a follow-up episode after David's episode, after his dog Dennis, who'd appeared with us, was just down by our feet. Very sadly died prematurely at the age of 7 or 8, I think Dennis was. Dave's now got a new guide dog. I did say to him, I think they only gave you one because you're a Paralympics CEO now. But he wouldn't have that. He said he was on the waiting list, and that's what you're on at the moment.
Yeah.
So you've been on the waiting list for quite some time, and it's a long waiting list. Tell us a little bit about why it's a long waiting list, and also why it's going to be so important to you to get a guide dog.
Yeah, so I've been on the waiting list now for 2.5 years, which is actually so long. And the process is so long as well. Like, you have to go through testing to make sure you're eligible to get a guide dog, whether or not that be, again, the classification for being your visual impairment, and also, like, you've got to make sure that you can use your cane, because your cane skills and all that kind of stuff. So guide dog waiting list is so long. And yeah, I've been on the waiting list for 2.5 years, hoping to get one next year. The waiting list is long because of what I've been told is a backlog from COVID, so there's not enough guide dog puppy raisers, I think they're called, to get the dogs, and they can only have a certain amount go to each area. So we had 12 dogs come to Scotland a couple of weeks ago, or were trained in Scotland, but they're ready for people who need them. And my name was kind of brought up, but because of the lifestyle that I live and the amount of travelling I do with sport and the kind of requirements I need within this guide dog, the waiting list just gets longer. So I'm now being put in the priority list. So hopefully next year I'll get a guide dog, which would be life-changing, because just to be able to walk around a shop not having to hold mum's arm, or walk down a street without having to hold somebody's arm, and to be free and to say, dog, can you follow mum? And he or she will do that. So for me, it would just be like, my life will be so different, and I can't wait to share that on social media about how much it's going to improve my life and how independent I can be. And it might mean that I can start travelling again. I used to be able to travel by train, so when I went to the Royal Blind School, we learned how to train travel and all that kind of stuff. And they just say rely on the assistance people to get you on and off the train. Well, I was left in Doncaster with no assistance, no tactile paving, and was nearly hit by a train. So now I do not travel by train unless it's from London to Edinburgh or Edinburgh to London, because it's a straight train.
What was it? You had a change at Doncaster?
Change at Doncaster to then go to an event that I was supposed to be speaking at that evening. And I was left on the platform. Nobody else was there. And I had to basically just scream for help. Mum's back in Scotland, phoning the police to say blind girls left on the platform with no tactile paving. She can't see, and I mean, I couldn't even move, because if I was going to move, a train did come past at like full speed, and I panicked, was crying, it was awful, and now I am petrified of travelling by trains. Where a guide dog would be able to take me to safety. Like, it's little things like that, which, well, not little things, they're massive things actually, but it could change my life massively to be able to travel independently.
It's remarkable. It almost sounds like you have to make a business case for it. You're active. You're
pick me.
Yeah. Wow. And how do you choose? Because it will be life-changing for everyone. Freedom is probably the word that I'd use on it. So I'm going to go from guide dogs to Barbie.
Okay.
And I loved the post about Barbie. It was something I was kind of aware of, that they'd released a blind Barbie. Mm-hmm. And it's something I get really annoyed about, is there are plenty of people out there who go, oh, bloody woke, why do we have to do all this? Talk to me about why it's huge for someone like you, for Barbie to have released a blind doll.
Oh, the blind Barbie is incredible. Like, she just, faces the world with her visual impairment like nobody else. And she, honestly, like, for the little kids that have been able to get a blind Barbie and go into a shop and pick a blind Barbie is just incredible. I mean, for myself, my younger self was screaming when I got sent one by Barbie. I was like, what?
So you did get a freebie?
It was. It definitely was. Yeah, Barbie had sent me it, and I was like, oh my goodness, why me? Little old me again. Like, this is mad. But they sent me blind Barbie, and I was just like, this is incredible for inclusion, for accessibility, for awareness. Like, Barbie is such a massive brand. Toy brand. And for Barbie to release something that included visual impairments was just insane. And I do think they need to bring out a guide dog now. I know there's a lot. All the guide dog owners were like, but what about us? Like, where's the dogs?
Barbie's on the list.
Yeah. But we got a blind Barbie, and she was amazing. I don't know if you've seen the video that I dressed up like blind Barbie.
I did.
So I got the same outfit as she did, and I had so much fun filming the TikToks.
Was that kind of one of those moments where you felt not pushed in the corner like you did as a young girl?
Yeah, for all those days that blind Barbie was all over the press, it was like, we matter, like, blind people matter, and we have a voice. And Barbie took that to the extreme of, you can have your own doll. So I felt so heard, and it was honestly, the social media just was blowing up of blind Barbie. Oh my God, did you know that there's a blind Barbie? And I mean, the trolls weren't very happy about it, but what can you do?
They're not happy about it.
They're not anything.
I, to a much lesser extent, of course, because my condition is nothing like yours. But there was I bought my son a Lego set once. It was a Lego City set, and one of the Lego figures had hearing aids.
Oh my gosh.
And it meant a lot. Just to see that meant a lot to me. And someone that's struggled, but not even comparable to that. That was huge for me as well. And From the pink of Barbie to the pink of Pink, that was another of your videos that really struck me. As you looked like you were going VIP there, which is pretty cool. But you went to
box,
see Pink
with
the audio descriptions that were going on there as well, because you think of going to concerts and you think, oh, well, it's great for blind people because it's all about the music, but it's not just all about the music. When you go and see someone like Pink, this is the stage show as well. So you went to see Pink in concert and the audio description was on as well.
Yeah, it was incredible because she was doing like acrobatics in the air and her outfits were different. And, like every 5 seconds she was changing her outfit, and they had that all written down of what she was going to be doing because of previous shows. They had our outfits all written down so that they knew what to say on the voice or the audio description of what she was wearing. So being able to sit and listen to your favourite music and really just vibe, and then be told, oh, by the way, she's just on a backflip, or by the way, she's swinging from God knows where. And I was like, this is incredible. And, you know, audio description at concerts should be a thing because it could be live. It doesn't have to be pre-recorded like your shows, because you're just sitting there and you're being told everything that's going on. It's just, yeah, you take for granted what you can see, or for people who can see what you can see at concerts, whether that be that they've got a really big stage background or all that kind of stuff. And we went to go see Take That, and there was no audio description at this event, but there should have been, because they had the whole set of like a TV show. But they were like walking around with cameras, apparently, like Mum was trying to describe it, where somebody else's job could have been to describe what was actually going on.
They
and I do see an appointment.
4 middle-aged men dressed totally inappropriately for their age.
With like colourful leather jackets and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I want to know that. But we should have the opportunity to know that. But yeah, audio description at concerts is wicked.
Yeah, and this is where tech is so important. And Lee and I deal with the negativity on social media a lot in the work that we do, working with professional sportsmen and women who have been attacked online. But there is so much. I mean, social media has given you so much. It's given you a sense of community. You know more blind people than you would if you were brought up in the 1980s like me. It also gives that level of accessibility to blind people, people with hearing difficulties. And you mentioned audio description. There's quite a funny story on Ofcom complaints that I mentioned to you and I mentioned to Lee, which is the most common Ofcom complaint. So Ofcom is, they oversee television. Yep. The most common complaint they get is from people who have accidentally turned on the audio description on their television and they're convinced that there was a problem with the actual programme. But audio description, of course, is incredibly important for blind people because that moment of suspense in a thriller, you know, a man is walking down the street and there's a shadow of someone behind him. I mean, if you're watching that blind and there's no audio description, the jump scare is not quite the jump scare that it should be.
Yeah, and I'd actually challenge everybody to give it a try on Netflix. Like, pick your favourite film. Like, for me, I love watching Grown Ups, and if it's got the audio description on it, perfect. And I challenge everybody, sighted or not, like, try audio descriptions. Just close your eyes, and you actually think, oh, this is quite good. It's quite nice and soothing. You don't need to see to experience a film. My mum takes the audio description everywhere we go just to experience what that's like for somebody that's blind. But if there's anything missing, she'll like jump in and say, oh, they forgot this, or they didn't say that, but this is what they should have said. So yeah, give it a try on your movies because it's pretty good. It's not corrupted. Like people think, oh my gosh, my TV's broken. What's going on? Just give it a try.
Well, look, my wife watches TV now with the subtitles on sometimes even when I'm not there. And my kids have become quite used to it. And in fact, subtitles have become much more of a thing. So I'm very much with you on that one. We are running out of time. I'm just looking at my notes, which are all over the place for you. That's very deliberate. There's something brilliantly chaotic about your story and your personality being so bubbly, and my notes are reflected in that. Also, I have used the pink highlighter pen all over it as well, and make that clear to you. But one thing that comes up in my notes I've not mentioned is we talked about you representing England, but you have represented Scotland in rowing.
Yes.
Now, this is Football Journey, so we talked a lot about football, but I can't let you as two Scots walk away without talking about what it is like to represent Scotland, something you've enjoyed before and something you've enjoyed. So you're actually at Henley Regatta. You've been at international regattas for Scotland. Yeah. I know you are, very happy to play for England, but that must be a proud moment for you as a Scot. Yeah,
there was no better feeling than, again, putting on a shirt that actually was for your local area, like, not just for England, but actually when I got to put on that Scotland shirt, I was like, is this real? Am I actually putting on a Scotland shirt? And it was a big moment because it was the first time ever, and I always thought that if I was going to play a sport, I'd be representing Scotland and not England. But I'm, again, so grateful to play for England. But for rowing, getting to put on that first time Scotland shirt was like, yeah, I did this. Like, this is wicked. And yeah, getting getting the opportunity to go to Scottish Champs, you know, racing at Henley Women's Regatta, home internationals where I got my first Scotland shirt, like that, yeah, just incredible. And yeah, I loved that moment. It was so good.
What was your family like on that occasion?
Oh, they loved it. They were like, finally, about time you got a Scotland shirt. I was like, yeah, I know.
And forgive me, does the national anthem play?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What was that like for you, that one in particular?
Yeah, for listening to the Scottish anthem, it was just the lyrics, just the sound, so there was no lyrics to it. So we were actually having to sing it, and all you hear me is, "Off float of Scotland." It was so bad. The whole crowd stayed quiet. I was like, can somebody join it? I'm the only one here shouting and bawling it. But yeah, I was really just embracing that moment, and actually you'll never get that moment back. Like, that's done and dusted. The first ever time listening to the anthem, and now you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that was the first time of the anthem. But yeah, it hasn't really sunk in yet. Great day, really good day.
Well, I mean, I mentioned earlier on in the podcast that obviously blindness has taken a lot from you, but what it's given you, actually I shouldn't give the blindness the credit, I should give you the credit.
Thank you.
But what you've achieved in light of the loss of that sense has been absolutely incredible. It's been an absolute honour to have you on this podcast. So it just leaves me to say thank you very much, Sam.
No, thank you, honestly, for having me and letting me share my story and my journey.
Sam, you're amazing.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Football Journeys. Before you go, and if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to leave us a review, a rating, or talk about us on social media. Find us on @JourneysPod. Your support helps us to make this podcast a success. Thank you for your support.